I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum!
Astro Radio Z is a horror, cult, exploitation film podcast by filmmakers, critics, musicians, journalists, and fans for the film obsessed. Here is your host, Derrick, Carey.
Welcome to another episode of Astro Radio Z. As always, I am your host, Derrick, Carey, and welcome to the second episode of our Howling franchise episodes. I don't know, these middle episodes of these franchise episodes tend to be the rough ones. Last year, the second episode nearly ended my Astro Radio Z career. It took over 8 months for me to get to the second episode of the Vice Academy series. This year, I'm staying on track. I have a schedule. I've forced everyone in 1 month. We were going to do the next 3 Howling movies, and here we are, Howling 4, 5, and 6. We're going to go through them tonight. We slug through these movies. I'm interested, to say the least, to see and hear the reactions of my panel. Tonight, who's my panel? It's the same group of people. They decided to come back. I didn't lose a single one of them, so that's a good sign. Glenn, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
You don't sound great. What's going on with that voice, sir?
Just a little sick at a trade show, picked up something. I guess I shouldn't have licked that Malaysian hooker.
Yeah, I find that that's usually a bad idea. It usually happens after 10:30 at night at every con. If you're still up and you're out, you know at some point the Malaysian hooker's going to get licked. So you need to learn that lesson, Glenn.
That's New York City for you.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
You have to judge your cosplayers better, man.
Well,
It is absolutely like, which ones are on the up and up and which ones might not be on the up and up.
Scott Davis, can you tell us which ones are on the up and up? What is?
I don't know.
A criteria?
I never get laid. I don't know. Jesus, come on, are you kidding me? There are very few occasions I get to take my pants off for at this rate. This is one of them.
That escalated
This is
quickly.
one of them. So
There was something back in the back of my brain where I knew you weren't wearing pants, but I wanted to imagine that you were on my show. But now the cat's out of the bag, so we're all fucked. Have that image in your head, folks. Next to him, of course, is Mr. Andrew Shearer. I'm always excited to have this gent on, even though he is less than excited to be on my show about these horny werewolves. Mr. Andrew, how you doing?
Hey, man, what's up? My sister-in-law is Malaysian, and happy Black History Month.
Astro
Nice.
Radio Z on PC as always. And all the way from Baltimore, Maryland, Mr. Seth Howling of celluloidterror.com is back with us to talk about some werewolves. But wait, were there werewolves? I don't know. I might have blinked. How you doing, Seth?
I'm doing good, buddy. Excited to be, I'm back.
Like I said, it's the second episode curse, folks. It's that middle slog. You know how most trilogies always have the best part in the middle? Well, you'll learn in Astro Radio Z history, the middle episode is the one that's the hardest. It's the hardest. Mr. Mark, the movie man, he's back. He's drinking some hard liquor tonight. How you doing, sir?
Good. I got my Not Your Father's root beer here because I'm hitting the hard stuff because I watched the Howling films. That's what I got to say about that. Supposedly werewolf films. I'm told.
in theory, yes.
Quote unquote werewolf film.
Quote unquote werewolf films, yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely get into that as we finally start to talk about these. And last but not least, the wonderful Angelique Bone. How are you doing, miss?
I'm wonderful. Glad to be back.
Okay, so because the last Howling episode nearly broke you near the end of it, are you staying sober this one? Or are you having a beverage
Well,
with us?
I'm trying to be classy, so I've gone with some wine, and so
Okay.
you know.
I didn't request that you be classy. This is
Well,
Astro Radio Z.
I'm trying to redeem myself, okay?
Good. And the funny thing is, part 6 will be the one I'm sure we're actually going to gloat about. But it'd be okay to be broken on the first 2. But anyways, thank you for joining me. But before we get to the Howling episodes, I just wanted to talk about a couple movies real brief, that I'd seen, because I actually have gone to the theater a couple times this month. It's a shocker for me. That's something that usually doesn't happen. But there's a couple movies that I wanted to tell you about, dear listener of Astro Radio Z, that I think you should go out and see, because it's very rare that I get to the theaters and I actually see something that I quite enjoy, and that would be the Deadpool movie. If you haven't gone and seen it, you like the comics, you like Astro Radio Z type movies, Deadpool is in there 100%. It's gory, it's snarky, it's nasty, it's really fucking funny the entire time. I had an absolute blast with the movie. Go see it. And I just saw with Amanda last night, we just saw The Witch. And I implore you, as a horror fan and a fan of good cinema, you need to go and spend money on The Witch. It was not only a wonderfully crafted horror film, it was an amazing experience in a theater. It's hard to capture accurately in words the feeling you get when you watch something that is so. I just was amazed when I walked out of that theater. Amanda was asking me, what did you think of it? I'm like, give me a few minutes and let it rattle around in my brain. I want to kind of like sort out what I just experienced. I absolutely loved it. And if you want to hear more about The Witch, go over to Mark the Movie Man's podcast, The Spoiler Room. Hit a few people that are on the show tonight actually were there, and we're talking about it. So please go over there and listen to his talk about The Witch. Have any of you guys seen these 2 movies?
Yeah.
Thoughts? Let's get quick thumbs up and thumbs down on them.
I give thumb up to both, mostly The Witch, but yeah.
Glenn?
Just for Deadpool, I haven't seen The Witch yet.
Yeah, go check that one out. You're going to love that one, Scott.
Thumbs up for both of them. The Witch is one where it's one of those ones where it's like you said, you need to have that like wash over you. You can't be. It's being marketed as this like horror film, and so hence there was like all these like teenagers in my theater, and even people bringing their families of small children into the theater and stuff. Like, it's not even that it's inappropriate for them, which it kind of is. It's that I don't think that audience is going to really get it. They're not going to really appreciate it at this stage of their life, unless they're unusually matured and well balanced for their age in a way that I was not. So, I mean, I thought it was really good. It's one of those movies that really washes over you. You think about it more and more and more after it's over.
Yeah, I thought it was a very dense film. I thought a lot of its themes were very relevant in our society today that seems to be reverting back to ignorant religious fervor.
Yeah.
Instead of intellectualism. I thought there was a lot going on underneath the surface of The Witch, and I really want everybody to check that out. Mark?
Thumbs up to both. Deadpool, just hilarious. Hurt your side. I've never been in an audience. It's been a long time since I've been at a movie where the entire audience is laughing the same time I am. Usually I'm that odd guy that's either laughing or not laughing while everyone else is laughing. But this time, yeah, it hit on all marks. And The Witch, yeah, it's an experience. It's just one of those surprising films. I'm so glad it got wide release. And I tweeted afterwards that The Witch was worth the half-hour drive to go see it this past weekend versus this next weekend, which is when it's going to be in town. But it was so worth the half-hour drive. And it was a shame that most modern horror movie fans aren't going to get it. And so far, that's what I've seen. I've seen critics love it, and younger people who are going in expecting the gallows, where you have 15 jump scares, are coming out going, man, that movie was disappointing. And I'm like, yeah, you don't get it. So we'll see both.
Yeah. I don't like being that person that says, that too many people aren't to the level that will understand a film. I think it's a very mature film. So unfortunately, if the rest of the movies that we see out in the megaplex are of any indication as to the maturity level of most horror audiences, this isn't going to be for them.
No, it was. I laughed at the fact that I saw the Conjuring 2 trailer beforehand, and it was like night and day as far as tone and style and just execution. I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was a very old feeling movie. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I can't say enough about it, but I am going to cut it short because we have to get to these non-werewolf films. So let's get right to this. There's a lot of non-werewolfery we need to discuss tonight, and we will start off with 1988's Howling 4, The Original Nightmare.
Oh, God.
Everybody's worst nightmare has returned. It's known simply as the Howling.
Every night I've been hearing this howling. There's something so sinister about these woods. He's out there. I feel him.
There's no big animals here, Babs.
Don't worry. There's nothing in the forest to harm you.
Go away!
Go away, my child! The howling. She was never able to tell us what happened. The bite marks.
There weren't any bite marks.
The devil's hatred for God has turned man into a habitation for demons.
Derrick's still out there.
Ruth was trying to warn us.
Howling 4, The Original Nightmare.
Howling 4, The Original Nightmare, which essentially is just a retread of the original film, but supposedly a more accurate, spot-on rendition of the original novel. That's why it's called The Original Nightmare. Being somebody that actually read the original novel, it is closer, but it's a lot less rapey. So, I mean, if that's something that you were hoping for, then you got it. Here's the plot synopsis of Howling 4, The Original Nightmare from IMDb. A successful author moves to a new town after suffering a mental breakdown and is tormented by demons and werewolves. And I said it like there's a question mark because there ain't no fucking werewolves in this damn movie.
Exclamation point turns into a question mark.
I don't know.
You get the shortest remake of the Incredible Melty Man ever.
Oh, I had that in my notes too.
Oh man, folks, for a movie that essentially, if you are a fan of the Howling series up to this point and watched it through, you know what this movie is. It's point by point, like the same movie, only done is like a quintessential 90s direct-to-video sequel. It has all the hallmarks of it. Horrible music, zero style with their opening credits. It's just stark white text on a black background. It's shot like a TV movie with zero visual flair, no camera movement. All of the images are 4x3 safe. Everyone stands in the middle of the screen. They're all mid shots, flat lighting, and it's just everything is obvious and telegraphed and boring. And unfortunately, which is the most shocking aspect of this, is that it was directed by John Hughes.
Yes.
Who directed Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry and Escape from Witch Mountain and Legend of Hell House. Went from those films to direct this complete snoozer. There's really not a lot to say about it style-wise because there is no style to this film. Andrew, what would you say about Howling 4?
I was really surprised, man, because like we were getting into now the ones that I had never seen before. Like I had seen 1, 2, 3, and those are, I had never seen the rest of these, so I actually kind of got a little excited about it when we ended the last one. I'm like, man, I'm kind of stoked to watch these, and then I started to think about if these were if they'd have took the same approach to Jason movies, people would have tore the seats out of the theater. They would have made the next Jason movie about what happened at the screening of the Jason movie. Just to think about it. Remember how pissed everybody was about part 8, where Jason takes Manhattan is he really takes a boat. This was oh man, I don't get it, man. It was really is werewolf so hard to make that you don't want to show it? You know what I mean? Was it a budgetary thing? I'm still trying to figure that out. I mean, they have one great effect in the movie that Glenn already mentioned, and but I just don't understand, man. I mean, it was it's not much fucking, there's not much nudity. It just, I would have been fine with no werewolf if they would put a lot of titty and just nothing, man.
There's really nothing. And when we're talking about titty, the boobs don't happen until 55 minutes into the movie. And if you remember the first film, the setup is essentially this couple goes out to a retreat or out in the woods as a getaway because the female of the couple is distressed and needs to take her mind off of a trauma. In this film, the lead character is an author who is stressed out from her deadlines and is having these dreams that are causing her to have these waking hallucinations. So they go out into the middle of the woods, her and her bootleg Richard Marx husband.
Another movie with a great mullet.
Yep, he had a great mullet in a 3-day shadow beard. He was right there waiting for her when she got home. I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't help myself. But anyways, the nudity scene is the nudity scene from the first one where we got animated werewolves fucking. And this doesn't happen until 55 minutes into the fucking movie. I mean...
And she had the worst nipples I've ever seen.
Okay, do you feel? I don't want to get really super into her nipples too much. But
why not?
Oh, I thought they were pretty fucked up too. I didn't want to sound like I wouldn't want to sound like that one guy who's like, "Oh, what's wrong with this chick?" But if Angela's on board, I'm just gonna be like, "Yeah."
I don't remember the nipples. Somebody tell me what's up.
They're like multi-layer puffy nipples.
Yeah.
It's like there's a tiny little wedding cake sitting on the end of her boob.
I don't know, man. I really don't even. Is that bad that I don't even remember the nipple? I just think.
It says something about it.
It's like a wedding cake?
Gotta go back
it's like 3-tiered nipples.
That actually sounds pretty cool, man.
It's not. It's
like
awful.
A fondant one or like an old school?
Like an old
buttercream?
School. 3-tiered.
Like a buttercream, more like a cupcake, more like cupcake frosting on top of a nipple.
You're not making this sound bad, dude.
I just wish now I just wish that there was like a little werewolf bride and a werewolf groom at the end of each nipple. That would have been so awesome.
That scene would have been a lot more interesting, I'll tell you that.
It would have happened in Howling if they let Philip Morrow make it.
Oh yeah, I agree. And that's the thing about this movie in general is it's just like, really, there is no style, so the movie is just boring and flat, and it goes nowhere. Most of the story, after they decide to go to this little town, and it looks like a desert town. You think that it's of course some Southern Californian desert town. Nope, this was actually shot in South Africa. So that explains a lot of why a lot of the acting and a lot of the voice seems off, because it was all dubbed.
Almost every single line, every single sound effect in this movie was dubbed over. And the reason is that they did shoot in South Africa during apartheid, I might add. And they were shooting in and around this area, and often in this shack, where there was lots of noise nearby, including an airport that would just fly right over the thing. So every time whatever they shot, they had to redub over, because every time it's like, I don't know, I'm in this town and there are werewolves. just going overhead. So they had to do that. And this is one of those rare cases where it wasn't a language barrier. It was you really didn't scout this location very well.
Oh, it was obvious that it was completely dubbed over, and it unfortunately made a lot of the performances extremely wooden, especially the Temptress. Her overdub is atrocious and makes her sound like a robot. It's really unfortunate. Seth, I know you like these sleazy ass werewolves, but man, this thing came up flat. What did you think of this?
What sleazy ass werewolves? It felt like they just took the most basic plot outline and said, fuck it, let's go shoot it. Nothing's planned out. It felt like a Coke commercial at times to me because they just kept going to that general store and having Cokes. That's what I got out of this movie, is that I want a Coke.
Howling for the Coke nightmare. Oh, man. Well, that was the thing, is that this little town, it almost seemed like it was some backlot, like Old West town that it was built in Southern California for, back in the 30s or 40s for people to shoot Westerns at. And it just was boring to look at. There was not much going on. And then half of the film is this Scooby-Doo mystery about a missing nun that formerly owned the cabin that kills the movie flat. There's just like nothing that goes on because it's the lead and her friend who's a fan of her novels decide to go on this hunt for this knowledge of these people. For what reason? I have no fucking clue, and it doesn't really fucking matter because it goes nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, all three of these are actually Scooby-Doo mysteries if you think about it. There's no monster and there's a literal bad guy in every single one of them.
I thought 6 was kind of like a Incredible Hulk TV episode.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
Away with it too, if it wasn't for you and your middling cake boobs.
This is good.
Mark, what did you think? I know you text me every time we have these episodes, and you live text me the entire time, telling I'm just like, dude, just save it. You're giving away all your good stuff. But Mark, tell the listeners what you thought of this one.
Well, I do that because I have to share, because I'm watching these for the show, and I need to share in the whatever is going on. Yeah, this one, I was texting Derrick, and I'm like, no werewolf yet. It's called the Howling, right? And then like 33 minutes in, we get a little hint. I'm like, oh, werewolf. I'm like, there better be titty in it. So 45 minutes go by. Nope. Still no titty. And then 55 minutes. In 55 minutes, I'm like, finally, there it is. Oh, wait, there it goes. Damn it. Yeah, this film, I don't know. It was a snooze fest. The script, yeah. This author who apparently makes friends very easily, because not only was this fan suddenly her bosom buddy, but she called these two people who just show up in her cabin from this RV. She calls them her friends. I'm like, you knew them for like 2 minutes, and they're your friends? What the hell? And she's looking for the license plate, and yeah, they're doing this mystery with this nun, and she's having visions of. It was like the script was a werewolf Mad Libs, and go, okay, I'll put this here, and I'll put this here. Yeah, that's it. And we need cake nipples here. Okay. And by the time you get to some werewolf action, I was like, wait. The way the werewolf the way he transforms, he's got to completely melt into Jello pudding pop, and then he comes out as a werewolf. I'm like, what the hell kind of transformation is that?
It's called the souffle method.
It's a bit impractical to me. I'm just like,
so did he have to roofie himself in order to do that first?
I think he actually popped one before he melted. And that husband, quote unquote boyfriend, husband, whatever I guess husband.
Richard Marx.
Yeah, he's like all jealous because she's all buddy with her agent. Yet, how long did it take him to go sniffing around the butt of the temptress in the shop?
Yeah.
I mean, he was there. He was practically doing that when they first met her. And I'm like sitting here going, this writing makes no sense. You really, dude? You're sitting here and I'm like, oh, yeah, this film, very little payoff for what you have to slog through on this film.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Honestly, that's why we're gonna have a tough time going on and on about at least the first couple of these movies, is because they are essential. Like this one is essentially a soap opera version of the first film, and it's shot in that way, a very made-for-TV type movie. And then the last 10 minutes are great.
Yes.
Once he finally turns into the werewolf and melts and reconstitutes, and with all of these, the townspeople chanting Satan, 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 and they look like werewolf versions of the people from the Carnival of Souls. The movie turns really fun, and the werewolf looks great. I was like, man, can you imagine if this was at least maybe half of the movie?
Yeah, the last 15 minutes of this movie are incredibly great. All of a sudden, basically, I'd say I would probably go as far back as the ridiculous twist where they find out that the nun, who they thought was saying something like, they thought she was saying something like "We're all alone here" or something like that. But I guess because she's got like some kind of speech impediment or something, they didn't figure it out that she's saying.
Werewolves. We're all in fear. Demons. We're all in fear. We're all in fear. Werewolves are here. 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 Oh God.
Because, and I guess like I would say everything from that, like you've got to be shitting me reveal all the way to the end, which is I think of like about 15 minutes or so, because that's when the guy becomes all melty. Andrew, you were talking about how silly it was that Robert Picardo melted a bit in the first one, and here he gets really melty, the werewolves, all the way to that ending. I'm like, Jesus, that's the John Ho or who or however we pronounce his name. That's the one I know. Oh, okay, that's the one. That's the guy I know from Legend of Hell House, man. That's like that level of crazy. And you know, Legend of Hell House, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, Escape from Witch Mountain, Watcher in the Woods. I mean, those movies got that crazy, but this one, it didn't get that until the end. And until then, we had to deal with, Michael T. Weiss, the guy from that 90s TV show, The Pretender, the one who looked weird, always thought looked weird. And
Freeway 2.
And Freeway 2. That's right, he was in
And Freeway.
Well, whatever. He plays aggressive Kenny Loggins in this movie. So, I mean, I just didn't like it. He was constantly dismissing his wife. Even before he was under the werewolf spell, he was dismissing his wife.
I don't know when. Christ, Marie, we stop hassling me?
And even after her dog is missing for several days, like, no, okay, a few hours, yeah, it might be nothing. A few days, there's something wrong.
Dude, he didn't give one shit about anything she said the entire movie.
No, he was just a dick. He was a total dick. I mean, if this movie was made about 10 to 15 years later than it was, that part would have been played by Thomas Hayden Church. I mean, this guy, he was that level of a dick, like the guy from Sideways and everything like that. He was that level of self-absorbed. I'm the victim here because no one's interested in my needs, that kind of person. And there was lots of stuff I actually enjoyed about the film, but I mean, it was so dull until it could really go nuts towards the end. It might be, and I'm just going to say it right now because I've already babbled, is that it might be because the part 4 and the next one, part 5, are produced by Harry Alan Towers, who, if you did ever do a check on this guy, he's produced like hundreds of movies since the 50s and 60s. Often from existing material, often public domain material, sometimes not. And some of them have been really great movies, and then some of them have been really, well, not.
Well, there's also another name attached to this that is quite, at least from this point on, a frequent contributor and one of the primary creative forces behind the subsequent sequels, Clive Turner. And you'll get to know this name and this man little by little as we go along in these movies. because he not only goes from producing to writing to acting to directing. Now, that's not this episode. Next episode, you'll get Clive Turner's magnum opus, New Moon Rising. but he is somebody who's attached to all of these subsequent sequels, and you start to wonder, well, what is the thread here that's like holding these things back? I don't want to put a name to it, but somebody's responsible for these non-werewolf movies. And everyone that he's attached to have a whole lot of non-werewolf action going on. So before we wrap up part 4, because I really don't think there's anything more to talk about with this movie. It's a snooze fest. Let's go ahead and go down the line, give a thumbs up, thumbs down. Glenn, thumbs up, thumbs down on this one.
Oh, thumbs down, big time on this one.
Andrew.
Thumbs down, man. You know, the sexually frustrated husband is really kind of a metaphor for how your ass will feel watching this movie.
It's totally, there's so little to talk about and to think about with this movie because it is essentially the same movie as the first one, only less stylish, less interesting.
I forgot there. I got the original drummer for Guns N' Roses has a quick cameo as a tow truck driver.
You know who that actually is?
The original drummer for Hanoi Rocks? I don't know. I'm not.
I like your references because I get them. That's actually the man I just discussed. That's Clive Turner.
Oh, God.
Well, he should have turned the truck around and went home, but I'd have.
But yeah, it's if you thought that Howling 1 was too much for you, this might be more your speed. So, anyways, Scott, thumbs up or thumbs down?
You know, I didn't hate it as much as you guys did. I almost wish I could kind of like go, but you know, push comes to shove, I gotta give it a thumbs down. It's not quite like, you know, trying to like dig into the earth thumbs down, but it's definitely a thumbs down.
Seth, if you want to, I know you didn't say a whole lot on this one. If you want to say a little bit more, go for it. I know I'm pushing this along because there's nothing going on in this movie, but thumbs up and thumbs down.
It's all been said. Thumbs down. There's nothing more to say.
Yeah, I agree, brother. Okay, Mark the movie man.
Yeah, this is the Vice Academy 4 of the series where nothing happens but a wedding at the end. Only in this case, a werewolf happens at the very end with very little exploitation elements that you least like to see out of something like this. Yeah, thumbs down. Yeah, it just not even worth it. Those last 10, 15 minutes do not make it worth sitting through the other hour and 15 minutes. Though you do get some intermissions in between because they literally put in a fade in, fade out for commercial breaks.
It felt like it really did feel like it was made for TV, even though this looked like, that's why I called it the quintessential 90s direct-to-video film, because it looked like all of those horror movies that were coming out on, what was that, Hallmark Video?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like all of those fucking movies.
Trimark.
There you go.
There
Thank you. Not Hallmark. Trimark.
I remember when this was coming out, and I, of course, was renting movies every weekend. I would try to rent 4 to 5 movies every weekend when I was in school because I was a little kid at the time. And I saw the ads for this, and it was IVE Video was the people who actually put it out. But I'm saying that because this is when people were sequel crazy. I remember. I think this was even might have even been on a tape of Rambo 3 that I rented, and there was trailers for this, Iron Eagle 2,
yeah.
I think a Watchers sequel or something.
Yep. Yep. I remember that because I rented this. I remember that. Yep.
Although I will blame Angelique. I'm going to have to go back to the 55-minute mark to see the cake nipples because I
will take a screenshot and send to you guys if I must, because I had to pause it. I was like, what is wrong with – oh, my God.
No, it's been built up way too much. We can't not all evaluate.
Trust me, I remember it's seared into my brain from when I was a child, from 1988. I remember seeing those nipples, and even at that age thinking, what?
What's wrong with those?
Okay.
Well, I mean, the whole sex scene was just terrible anyway. So, I mean, the fact that there were boobs in it doesn't really improve it any at all.
Sounds like some very interesting boobs, I think. That's part of this discussion, in my opinion.
I think, Andrew, why you don't remember it is probably because you fell asleep at that point.
Homie, not to make this about me, but it was fucking brutal to sit through these at night. I fell asleep so much, man. It took me 3 days to watch each one, probably.
That's exactly how I felt watching the Vice Academy movies.
It was the movie viewing equivalent of being on the crew of The Revenant.
These were rough. I recall back in the day, and Angelique, I am going to get to you eventually. I know we're stringing this
Take
along.
your time.
Back in the day, for some reason, and maybe it was, you're more easily pleased when you're younger. And at that time, when these were coming out, even just the slightest bit of sleaze, when you're a young boy, get you going. Oh, that was great. I remember liking all of these movies when they came out, and now coming back to them, this movie was just a whole lot of fucking nothing. Just a lot of fucking nothing. So this is some grade A bullshit.
Some old bullshit.
So, Angelique, let's round this out so we can move on to the next boring movie. What thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs down. The best part of this movie was the theme song.
It's good. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. And it's funny that Andrew... Oh, man. When Andrew brought up Friday the 13th Part 8, this song, the... Something dangerous. It sounded just like The Darkest Side of the Night from Friday the 13th Part 8. I remember I was sitting in my car after I had watched it, and I made Amanda listen to this, and she just looked at me like, what's wrong with you? Listen to the lyrics of the song, and seriously, if you don't crack up dying from laughter, I don't want to know you. I don't want you in my life.
You don't need that kind of negativity.
So it actually reminded me of, well, this is from a really good movie, but I mean, it reminded me of like a song that would be like on the Fright Night soundtrack.
For 2 seconds, I thought you were going to say Howling 2, and I was going to punch you through to the screen.
Oh, good movie.
Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a little bit of that song here for you folks, so you can listen to the greatest part of this movie beside. And if we made a supercut of Howling 4, it would be like 3 minutes long. It would have frosting nipples and a melting werewolf, and then that would be the end of the supercut of Howling 4. So here's the amazing track Something Dangerous from Howling 4, and when we get back from that, we're going to talk about Howling 5 Rebirth from 1989.
Here it comes, another sleepless night, and I don't want to dream no more. I don't need to close my eyes to see my destiny. There's a darkness in my soul, I know what waits for me. Something evil, something dangerous, on the borders of my consciousness. Something dangerous. The moon will rise
Now, Howling Rebirth from 1989, Howling 5 Rebirth from 1989. Oh, I so remember when I was younger that I actually liked this movie. I said a little bit in the last segment for Howling 4, the original Nightmare. But for some reason, I recall in my stupid primal brain that Howling 5 was actually a good film. That it actually had werewolves in it. Rewatching it, it not only is not a good film, it also has no fucking werewolves in it. It claims to have a lot of fucking werewolves in it. There ain't no goddamn werewolves in this movie. If you did a supercut of the goddamn thing, it would literally have all of 15 seconds of fucking werewolf in it. But anyways, to stop the rant, let's start this the proper way, like we do every single one we do. Here's the plot synopsis of Howling 5 Rebirth. from IMDb.com. A group of strangers visit an ancient Hungarian castle for no fucking reason and bring along a werewolf. So again, Clive Turner takes a more active part in this. He actually stars as the Aussie comic relief in this film. He's the guy who goes up to the bar and talks to the quote-unquote bitch character of the film.
A vodka martini, very dry with a twist. No. Vodka with a twist.
I do not understand.
Vodka. Twist.
Here. She means this, mate.
If I want your help, I'll ask for it.
Sorry, love.
And I'm not your love.
No, I wouldn't want to lower the standards.
So he's an active star in this movie, and I believe he co-wrote it and was an active producer on it. And the director was the co-director of the Red-Brown fronted Space Mutiny. So there's another tie to Reb Brown in the series.
Reb.
And this is one I want to start off with Mark the Movie Man. Because while he was watching it the other night, he had a lot to say about the opening sequence of this film that was set in Budapest, 1489.
It was. I texted Derrick because I started up 5, and like I said, I like to share so he knows what pain he's putting us through. And I sat there and I just texted him like, Budapest, 1469. What the hell? I'm like, this is a Howling, right? And so then they show the scene with all the dead people at the buffet table, and I'm like, holy crap! I'm like,
the buffet table of 1489 Budapest.
It was the really old country buffet.
It was the really old country buffet. You know, they didn't have Mr. Safe testing the food first, so they just dove right into that shit. And I'm like, okay, everybody's dead. And then this dude shows up with the most impractical sword ever in the history of cinema. This thing has such a huge hilt. I'm like, holy crap! You can't even wield that thing. What the hell type of sword is that? I don't know.
So you've never seen Sword and the Sorcerer then?
Well, no, I have. Yes, but but that had 3 blades. But
That makes a difference.
We need to do that on our show because that keeps coming up over and over and over again on this show.
Gladly.
That does make a difference, but no, seriously, you look at the handle on the sword and you're like, how does he even wrap his hand around that thing? Is he compensating for something? I don't know, but he shows up and his girl shows up and he's like, oh, okay, how about the baby? And she goes, yes. And so he assumes that means it's dead, and he runs her and him through with his big-ass sword. I mean, this thing is huge. I don't know what Dollar Tree they got it from, but whatever Dollar Tree, it was – but and then just as he's dying, there's a baby crying. I'm like, dude, you didn't go check? What the? I'm like,
well, and then he pulls a Darth Vader. No!
You died in vain.
I'm like this
I stabbed myself in the crotch with this huge sword for nothing.
This is a werewolf movie, right?
Well, the movie has actually, it starts off with the opening shot, the title shot, is a cradle rocking back and forth.
Yes.
It's actually the coolest title shot of the entire series, and it has nothing to do with fucking anything. The subtitle, The Rebirth, has nothing to do with fucking anything.
No, it was like Clue in a castle. We assembled all these characters because they have this birthmark that's shaped like a wolf head. I'm like, I was going to say tattoo, but they've all got this birth. I'm like, really? That's one hell of an intricate birthmark.
That was exactly my thought. Clue in a castle. It was again, Scooby-Doo and Clue and House on Haunted Hill and Bram Stoker's Dracula.
But nothing that relates to a werewolf movie, you will notice, folks.
Yeah, but they keep talking about a werewolf and they keep flashing because the whole setup is essentially these people, they get invited to this castle for who knows the fuck why, and they all decide to go, and they are all the most generic stereotypical characters on earth. You have the jock, you have the bitch, you have the rich guy, you have the aging starlet, you have the foreign wisecracker, blah, 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 blah. And they all go to this castle, and once they get to the castle, the rest of the movie is them sitting around in a dining room talking and then walking around with candles as they, in flash frames, get supposedly eaten by a werewolf for the rest of the movie. And really, that's it. There's fucking nothing else happens, and then it just ends. There's no transformation scene. That's it. Seth, did you have a real lack of a sleaze boner with this movie?
Yeah. I mean, doesn't the movie end with a literal wink to the camera?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a thriller wink.
Yeah. I think my favorite part was when, during one of the dozens of scenes of people walking around various rooms, the guy's drawing a chalk line.
Yes.
To find his way back, and they start, I guess they think that someone's erasing them, and they start flipping out, and then the girl turns around and goes, oh, there it is, and sees their chalk line again. That, oh, okay, everything's fine. There's just a lack of anything going on that made it into the movie. And just walking into one room and coming out another door, and the whole Scooby-Doo thing where one door leads to 6 other rooms.
Secret passageways.
There's just nothing going on.
Speaking of nothing going on, at least this movie 34 minutes in had a boob flash.
Yeah, flash.
That's it.
The whole thing was bland enough that I thought Clive Turner as the asshole foreigner was actually kind of funny.
At least you could get some yucks out of what he was doing.
Maybe he did that on purpose.
No.
Set himself up for the future installment.
Yeah. This is all a precursor and a build-up to New Moon Rising. Let me tell you, this is... Oh, my gosh. Oh, you just wait. You just wait, Angelique. Oh, Andrew also was going on to social media to talk about his experience while watching Howling 5. Andrew?
Oh, I don't remember what I said, but I think I arrived at something later. I think this is how the production meeting went, rather, for Howling 5, if you guys are ready. It's the end of the 80s. All the slashers and all the horror movies have all been done. And they're like, so what can we do that's different? I know. You know how those movies where they kill a bunch of people one by one? Let's just not for a really long time. Let's write 9 characters for a solid hour. That'll do it. And then instead of having everybody die in different ways, let's just all have them have their throats ripped out. Just all throats. No different deaths. That'll be new. Oh, and you know when they find the body, they're like, oh, God, let's have them not give a fuck. And one guy raises his hand. But what about the werewolves? Oh, well, here's a Halloween mask and a gray glove. Okay, go shoot.
And that's it. And you are not exaggerating. It literally is like 10 frames of werewolf before a kill.
I would describe it as bullshit.
That would possibly be the best IMDb review ever.
I don't know how, even as a kid, and I watched anything, I just saw these in the video store and went, no way. Like, I don't know. And I was watching anything. I watched like Heart Beeps and Munchie Strikes Back, and I didn't watch these. I mean, I don't know what it was, man, but I'm like, why did I never watch these Howlings?
That's why.
Future Andrew visited the brain of 80s Andrew and went, oh, dude, just watch Frankenhooker again.
I don't know what little me was thinking.
I think you guys are being overly harsh.
Uh-oh, Glenn, let's hear it.
I just think you're forgetting really good performances by Calvin Lockhart and Peter Cushing and Mike. Oh, no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. That's the original movie they made 15 years earlier, The Beast Must Die, which is basically this movie, but you actually have a werewolf occasionally.
Oh, my God.
And it's interesting.
That's right, The Beast Must Die. Yeah.
Yes. It's 8 people invited to an estate, and the werewolf kills them off one by one.
You are correct.
But it's got no ampersand.
No, it does not.
In Germany, it's known as The Beast Must The. Which is confusing to people.
That's interesting because I mentioned Harry Allen Towers before. Glenn's right, because I was looking at it as 10 little Indians with a werewolf, because he had shot 10 little Indians like 3 times before this. But Glenn's is even more on board. Yeah, he's right. It's The Beast Must Die, isn't it? Oh my gosh.
It absolutely is. You couldn't get more accurate than that. Just watch The Beast Must Die, or The Beast Must.
The Beast Must The
Beast Must Die.
Scott, I'm going to let you give your thoughts on this one, because I think we've already exhausted this one. This might be the quickest franchise episode of all time on Astro Radio Z. Scott.
I like it.
Oh! Let's hear it.
Wait a minute.
This is
Wait
your
just
moment.
one goddamn minute.
Yeah. This is from the guy who didn't like the one with Sybil Danning topless the entire time, and didn't like the one that was gonzo shit-ass crazy with marsupial fucking werewolves. But he
Explain
likes
yourself,
the one
sir.
where people walk around in the dark with candles and have fucking jelly on their necks as if they got their necks torn out.
I might have to go somewhere right now.
I am thoroughly just shocked.
No. Okay,
Explain yourself, Scott.
I
Davis.
will. And you know what? Let's not oversell this. It's not that I really thought it was a great movie. I barely enjoyed it. And I think a lot of it had to do with adjusting. And so, there's lots of backhanded compliments to the movie here, because a lot of it had to do with adjusting my expectations. Because, Derrick, you said you remembered really liking this movie as when you were younger.
Yes.
And I never liked this movie. When I saw it as a kid, when it came out, of course, I'm like, fuck yeah, Howling 5, I'm totally going to get this, totally forgetting how much I didn't like the last, 3 in the series that came before it. And I watched it, I really hated it. But so I was kind of thinking, like, okay, what do I remember from this movie? Not much. I remember soft focus the whole time. I remember it was all in a castle, and it was all like a murder mystery, like an Agatha Christie with a werewolf. I remember that it was a bunch of people wandering around this castle, and the werewolves were all like silhouettes. So, okay, I got to remember that that's going to be there. Now, if I had come in here cold and just seen that, I probably would have been so pissed. But I remembered that much from my youth. So I was able to look at this movie and say, this film still has problems. Problems I didn't mention or didn't remember before was that characters change their motivations constantly throughout the film. Elizabeth Shea is absolutely terrible in her part. At the same time, I was like, there is a sense of, atmosphere about this movie. And I kind of enjoy where it's going. I as far as being just the only crazy as shit part of the movie really is that for some reason they keep on splitting up and sending people off on their own. Whenever that happens, somebody panics and accidentally kills another person, which I think is a great reason not to do that. But
it makes no sense why they wouldn't just sit in the one dining hall and just stay there the entire fucking night. No,
because if they did that, there's no movie.
That would have made it.
There was no movie anywhere.
It would have been it would have been the why don't you just close your laptop of Unfriended? There was enough atmosphere and enough going on and enough kind of where I really appreciated that they went in a completely different direction with this. That I still, in spite of it, managed to just barely enjoy this entry in the series. But again, I'm not just saying this because everybody hated it so heavily. I kind of knew everybody would. But I think a lot of that though is because I had remembered the parts that I did not like when I was younger that really pissed me off when they took me by surprise. Well, I was expecting there not to be any werewolves in this movie. I was expecting there not to, it to be a lot of wandering around. I was expecting there to be lots of soft focus, which I usually hate. And I took all these things and I just barely kind of came out on the positive side of this movie.
Oh my gosh, I am thoroughly shocked. If I'm going to say anything positive about this,
I'm never going to be allowed in this show again.
No. I'm glad somebody had something good to say about it because honestly, so far 2 movies in, and I'm to Vice Academy middle section level annoyed. But if I was going to say anything positive about the movie, it is the setting. It's very gothic. It's very stylish. At least the camera moves in this film, unlike in part 4. The music, though, was horrible. It was the same goddamn stinger every single time. But that's really all I can say about it. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up because without just bitching more about this film, I don't think there's really anything else to discuss. Let's go the opposite direction this time. Angelique, thumbs up or thumbs down?
I mean, I have to give it a thumbs down. I mean, I didn't loathe this movie, but there was nothing redeeming about it, as you mentioned, aside from the set. Because, I mean, honestly, I'm like, is this the same castle that they used in Bram Stoker's Dracula? I mean, really. But, yeah, thumbs down.
Mark the movie, man.
I'm going to spoil the film for everyone. The innocent one who wasn't on camera for 99% of the film is the werewolf. There you go. Now you don't have to see
Hungarian proverb said.
You don't have to say it now. It was better than 4, but still a thumbs down.
Oh, my God. I think I had discussed with you guys, I think we were joking about it on some side conversations on Facebook or on Twitter or whatnot, how I thought this was mildly a step up from 4. Watching it again today to do my notes as I do with all of these franchise episodes, I sit and I watch these multiple times. One time to just get the feel, and then the second time to sit and make some observations and some notes. And this second time today, this movie is fucking nothing. Just nothing. I cannot give a thumbs up to this thing whatsoever. For me, and I've seen the other two that we'll talk about next episode. For me, this is the worst film of the series.
Wow.
It is by far.
I don't think.
Really?
Well,
Wow.
I kind of knew something was up because you couldn't even restrain yourself there, Derrick. It was kind of glorious. Honestly, I loved it, but I could tell that you were like, which was unfortunate. It was funny, but it was unfortunate because I could tell that you were speaking from a great deal of pain. You know?
It is just a movie, but it really is just a miserable viewing experience. Seth?
Thumbs down, but I did enjoy the set pieces and the atmosphere, and I guess I'm a bit of a sucker for over-appreciating murder mysteries and castles or crypts. Kind of reminded me of a shittier Graveyard Disturbance by Umberto Bava. Just a bunch of bumbling idiot running around. But thumbs down. It wasn't good.
Yeah, I agree. We kind of know what Scott's going to say, but Scott, go ahead, give your final thoughts. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm also a sucker for Gothic things, and I think because I was able to remember the things that disappointed me firsthand, I could concentrate on a lot of the other elements that I maybe didn't notice when I was younger or didn't have patience for. So I can just barely come up on the thumbs up side on this. It's not a great film, but honestly, it's a lot better than I remember it being. So.
And yet he panned Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. I'm not judging. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I would rather watch this again.
This one didn't break me. This one didn't break me like 3. So I'm like.
I'm just joking with you, Scott. You know.
Oh, I know. It's all
And
cool.
Mark, where is that original conversation so that the listeners can know what you're talking about? Go ahead and plug your show.
Oh, no, actually, it took place just before the show happened. But yes, on the spoiler room on specialmarkproductions.com, there's an episode where we talked just before we started recording, and Scott and I got in about Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. So what happens when you get two people passionate about film?
We are not above shameless chilling here on Astro Radio Z. You can find Astro Radio Z on astroradiozpodcast.com. Anyway, it's funny that part 3 of this series broke you, Angelique, because I absolutely fucking love part 3, and I know this man absolutely loved part 3. Andrew Shearer, what'd you think of part 5? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I would give it, I would give it a thumbs down, definitely, man. You ever get like a bag of chips out of a vending machine, and that shit's like half full, and you're like, what the fuck, man? Howling 5 is like getting a bag of Doritos and open it up, and there ain't shit in the bag. It's just air. And I could understand how somebody might be like, well, that's interesting. It kind of smells like Dorito. What an interesting thing happened to me.
It's like a Dorito fart in a bag. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right, but people like me would be like, you know what? It says Dorito on the bag, but there's not a motherfucker in here, and I would be really mad about that. But I will say this, man. In the last episode, I had to make mention of the brown person that was in Howling 2, and I will make mention of the brown person that is in Howling 5. This is Stephanie Faulkner. She was in JD's Revenge, and They Call Me Bruce, and I don't know what other stuff she was in, but I know she was in those. And yeah, a brown person is one of the leads in another Howling movie. Pretty cool.
But she's actually one of the best actresses.
She's great.
I thought she was going to be a main character in the film.
Starts out like that, but
and it didn't work out that way, which it was kind of disappointing because I really liked her too.
Yeah,
it's too bad because they literally killed the interesting characters right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it just that with sequels a lot of time they go to direct to video and everything's cheaper and whatever. Yeah, that's just wrong what they do with this shit. It's wrong. It's not cool. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think from now on, when somebody asks me about Howling 5, I'm just gonna say, dude, it's a Dorito fart.
Dorito fart in a bag.
That would be more. I would rather see that. Like that would be at least because farts are funny,
This is true.
Oh boy. Last but not least, Mr. Glenn Buettner.
Thumbs up or thumbs down? I would have to say thumbs up if what I was looking for was what a Hammer horror film would look like if you just filmed the empty sets and nothing else. Otherwise, I'd have to say thumbs down if this is actually supposed to be a Howling movie. The biggest letdown is the fact that as a movie, it's just kind of but as a Howling movie, it's just there's not a motherfucking one in there, as Andrew said.
Did I say motherfucker? I'm sorry.
Oh no, we swore on Astro Radio Z. What will Derrick Carey do to us?
No, man, I wanted to be able to share this on my work account, and I never can.
Leave it out with tiny howls. Not a motherfucker in there.
My boss would be like, "Why you say motherfucker on Facebook?" I didn't need to say it.
You could say, did you motherfucking see Howling 5? No.
You watch Howling 5 and see if you don't think motherfucker when you see
Howling. Dude, are you into motherfucking Dorito farts? You better watch Howling.
This is the movie for you.
You just got motherfuckered.
All right, who's gonna be the one to Photoshop the poster of this movie? Because I can't. That says that's gonna change it. Just to say Howling 5 Dorito fart.
The Dorito fart.
Dorito fart.
It has to. You have to get one of those little snack size Dorito bags and just superimpose the cover on top of it and just have Howling 5 Dorito fart and have the bag open and just like the remnants coming out of it.
Or like Cracker Jack, except instead of a surprise inside, someone just kicks you in the dick.
And then winks. And then winks.
It's like, oh, you want a decoder ring? Nuh-uh. Bam, nut kick.
Oh. Give me a moment to catch my breath, folks. I'm glad we don't have to talk about that movie anymore. Let's go ahead and let's move on to the final movie of tonight. This may be the most epically quick franchise episode I've ever done on this show. But I have a feeling we might have more to talk about with Howling 6, The Freaks.
Howling 6, The Freaks.
The world will look at you with awe. As long as you're with me, they'll never again call you freak.
Step right up for the most bizarre carnival ever staged.
Well, allow me to be your guide.
But here is the most astonishing.
Your guest has a little secret.
The most deadly.
Stand back, he's dangerous.
The most terrifying exhibit of all.
I'm the new entertainment.
Is this God's will to put a man on display like some sort of animal?
We are not talking about a man.
You tore her limb from limb. You can't deny your true nature.
You get this thing taken care of. Find out whoever or whatever is to blame. Kill it, arrest it. I don't care which.
You see the devil? You shoot him. Satan's work shall not go unpunished.
The series renters are howling for returns with its most spectacular addition ever. Howling 6, The Freaks.
Made in 1991, Howling 6, The Freaks, or as I'll call it, Blue Vampire vs. Emo Wolf. This movie is the age-old tale of a British guy who wanders into a dead-end desert town, renovates a church, fights off the advances of the church owner's daughter, wolfs out, and gets caught by a carnival runner who is a mutant-looking vampire. They then fight, and then the wolf runs off with the alligator boy. The end. If you were to take any of the decent bits of 4 and 5 and actually try and stretch them out a little bit more, you get Howling 6. You finally get a movie that has some style to it. The pacing isn't so glacial that you'll fall asleep every 10 minutes. You actually have makeup effects, decent makeup effects, and the acting, it's fairly decent. It's not too shabby. Glenn, what did you think of 6, The Freaks?
I generally have a problem with a lot of versus movies. Whenever you have something versus something, it's nearly always a letdown. And this one just, I'll give you this much. We get about 18 seconds more werewolf than we did in the last movie. I understand being on a budget, but you can't afford like just a floor mat from a 57 Chevy pickup truck just to have a guy wearing his back or something. Come on. No one can grow a beard. Nothing.
He was too pretty for a beard.
I think what was funny was the werewolf, because they actually had a transformation scene, even though most of the transformation scene was this dude that wore kind of like a plastic bag on his foot with claws. That seemed to be most of the transformation scene.
Wait.
When they showed the werewolf, he had nothing on his face.
Except that lipstick.
It didn't make any sense to me, Glenn.
It didn't have good music, though.
Except for the country tune, the horrible country "Blessed by the Lord" song that played while they were
was so much fun because it was so awful.
Oh,
That's
boy.
one of the funniest parts in the whole movie.
So you get you get a Rocky IV style montage where the British guy who comes into this dead end town, he ends up taking a job in order to have someplace to live with this guy who bought this old church, this rundown church, and they decide to renovate it. And during that, they have this montage where they're renovating it. You know, they're fixing it up, they're tearing boards off, they're scraping off the paint, they're putting on new paint. They're bringing in pews. They're doing all this stuff to the most unbelievably stupid country tune this side of Howling 7 New Moon Rising, which is it is foreshadowing for the entire film of Howling 7 New Moon Rising.
We have been blessed by the Lord. We have been blessed by the Lord. Blessed is the love he brings to me. Love is blessed and he gives to you. We must work hard all day, work hard all night. His light sends us strength, it shines so bright. The Lord is here to help us through time. Heaven's in your eyes.
The worst cameo ever. With Mary Lou for like 2 seconds in the audience.
Oh.
Yeah, I read about that. I missed her entirely. I read about that on the IMDb, and I missed her entirely.
That's where I read about it initially. I had to go back and watch it. And yeah, she's in the audience, doesn't say anything. You see her for like 2 or 3 seconds. That's it. I'm like, what is the fucking point of that?
There's one where I thought
you act as if we paid attention to Howling 5, that we would be able to pick up on her popping up like that.
Was she the one in the polka dot dress? Because that's the only one I thought might have been her.
I believe so.
Okay, because she was the only one who was scowling instead of cheering.
The scowling.
Okay.
The
scowling.
Scowling. Let's explain to the folks, who the fuck is Mary Lou?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the werewolf from the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the werewolf at the end of 5.
Yeah, the innocent one.
She's the thriller wink.
Yes.
She's the one that hugs him and then looks at the camera like, I'm the werewolf. Fucker.
I did it, me.
This is what constitutes as continuity in the Howling universe. So, anyways, what did you think of the werewolf? The look of the werewolf, Glenn? As you're still going, you still seem to have a lot to go here.
It's better than as what it was with a mask and a glove from the last one, like Andrew said. It's better than that. I mean, I'll give him that much. It's slightly better than a hand job from a hook-handed man in a truck stop bathroom. It's better than that.
Glenn.
Let him work it out, folks. Let him work it out.
Yeah, I gotta work this out. But just so much of it was just the first thing is you have the setting of a circus, which is a great setting for a horror film because circuses, just by their very nature, are creepy as fuck. I mean, everything about a circus is wrong. If you think about it, carnies, if there was ever an evil being put on the face of the earth, it's carnies. And I'm sure there might be a nice one somewhere, but they're the spawn of Satan. And you throw in the freaks and clowns, and I mean just people, living in these big tents and wagons. I mean, come on. You have a perfect setting already, and somehow you blow it. I don't understand it. You have such a good setup, have a werewolf versus vampire movie that doesn't really have a werewolf very much. And God, I hate when they have to do things like, hey, we'll name the vampire guy Harker. See if people pick up on that.
See if they harken back.
Clever.
Wink.
That's Bram Stoker's Dracula, baby. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm telling you, this movie, Howling 6, is the Ghoulies 2 of this series. It's set in a carnival, except they exchange out Royal Dano for Antonio Fargas as the geek Renfield character.
I was so happy to see a real geek.
I know.
And another black person is pretty crazy.
And it's fucking it's Huggy Bear.
And Pimple the Year. Yeah, Andrew, I know you got a hold of me about Antonio Fargas. Were you super excited to see him in this flick?
I thought it was fucking great, man. No, stupid. I mean, what do we like about the Howling movies, the first three? We like the sex, we like the humor, and we like the werewolves. Well, let's take all those out of the next three. I mean, that's basically, this is the best of 4, 5, and 6, but it's still like what they should have done was take like the production value of 5, the effects from 4, and actually the story of 6. And then you would have had, if you let Philip Morra make it, then you would have had a good movie, I think. But even the vampire versus werewolf thing, I mean, it just doesn't. Like that vampire, when he finally vampires out, at first I was like, that looks like Baphomet from Nightbreed fucked an eggplant. I mean, he was an interesting looking thing, and then they kind of try to make it like Freaks by having Deep Roy attack that girl. It just did. Like I said, man, it's kind of like an Incredible Hulk episode. Even at the end, the guy walks off in ripped clothes out into the sunset or whatever.
Yeah, holding the alligator boy instead of going with what you would imagine, the romantic interest, where, she fought so hard and defended him. When her father decided, once they found out he was a werewolf, the father is just like, nah, he's the spawn of Satan. You can't go anywhere near him. But she still loved him. So what happens? They go through all of this, and at the end, nah, I'm going to carry in my arms the alligator boy off into the sunset.
Nah, man.
Talk about it being shot down, man.
Wait, I thought everybody liked this one. What's up?
This one is the least painful of the ones so far, to me anyway. I mean, I kind of enjoyed this one a little bit. I loved Alligator Boy. He was cool. I loved the geek. But the whole, exoskeleton Nosferatu versus shiny, rock-steady werewolf, no.
It's a little bit like Teen Wolf got into the Mac,
Yeah, it's like it wasn't even wolfy. He was just, like the Elephant Man with fangs.
I liked the way that vampire looked, though. I actually liked that look on there. It was kind of like the Nosferatu thing, but they made him kind of look like more like a. It made him look. I think it was trying to make him look even more like ancient,
and
like
everything. The Djinn from Wishmaster. I mean,
California raisin.
Yes, you win.
Yep. He was purple as a bastard. like a vampire plus balls, and you get
motherfucking eggplant Dracula.
Dracula. Mark the Movie Man, what did you think about the eggplant Dracula?
I think I remember seeing this once. Yeah, it was during a Buffy the Vampire Slayer show. This thing felt like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode. That's how it played out, from the way the vampire looked to the way they handled the werewolf. I'm like, this would have made a really good Buffy episode. You get Miles in there, but yeah, as itself, I enjoyed. After watching 4 and 5, this was like amazing. This was like, I was like, wow, shit's happening. Dude just actually bit the head off a chicken. That's awesome. And I'm like, this is great. And it's still not fantastic, but out of these 3 films, this is the one I enjoyed the most because shit happened. Not even werewolf shit. Just shit. We actually had a story in here. We had the religious dad who once he finds out the guy's a werewolf, suddenly he's like he's spawn of Satan, and you get a little bit of a character thing going on there. The dude being a vampire, it was pretty obvious from the get-go, where he looked like a rejected casting call member from Interview with a Vampire. No, he is a vampire, and yep, sure enough, he shows up that he's a vampire. I'm like, well, that wasn't a twist, but stuff happened. You actually had a plot that had things that moved forward and things happened. So I guess in that sense, I enjoyed it a lot more than the other two, if nothing else, because this actually had a story. It had a narrative to it. As a werewolf movie, yeah, he kind of looked like Teen Wolf. He kind of looked like, a Chewbacca costume gone wrong. But
he put the Chewbacca costume on backwards.
Yeah. But other than that,
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means
either. That sounds pretty accurate. I did like Alligator Boy. I thought he was an awesome character. I wanted to see more of Alligator. I was glad the werewolf walked off on the end with Alligator Boy, because I want to see more of that character. Not that we will, but
never.
Now that's an interesting story from here. You could go on and actually make a great movie with the Wolfman and Alligator Boy. It's like a superhero movie, man.
That would be like a Joe Lansdale thing. That'd be really good.
And at this point, he was bitten by both a vampire and a werewolf. Yeah. So Alligator Boy is a new creature altogether.
Thank you, Angelique.
Alligator Boy was a new creature.
I wanted to see what would happen to that. I'm like, he got bit by both. I saw that Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah, he's a werewolf that's vulnerable to sunlight and silver.
Yeah. There was the Scooby-Doo movie that they made later on that where they had werewolves and vampires fighting each other and biting each other, and they kept turning back and forth to one another.
See, like I said, all three of these are Scooby-Doo plots.
They are. But this one, I enjoyed this one the most because it actually had some interesting characters. It had a story that had stuff happening that went along. You had a point A and got to point B. So yeah, in that respect, I enjoyed this the best out of the three.
Yeah, I don't want to sit. I think I still have residual grumpies from part 5 as we start to talk about this one, because I actually did like this one. If you want to break down some of the good stuff about it, I liked Bruce Payne as the vamp / carnival runner. I thought he did a good job. He hammed it up, but he did a fairly engaging job of his what he had to do.
Like, what's others? He looked real familiar. What's he been in?
He reminded me of a knockoff Julian Sands.
Oh,
right. Yeah. Right. At first, I thought that might have been Warlock, but
bad guy from Passenger 57.
There you go. Okay.
It's like the guy that played Buffalo Bill and the guy played Lucius Malfoy had a love child.
I wondered who that was because he looked familiar from something.
He was also the devil in Switch, if you remember that Ellen Barkin movie, which I liked and no one else seemed to.
I like that one, dude.
I like that movie a lot. Yeah, he was the devil. Nah.
Would you conjure my Patron? I'd conjure my Patron. Anyway, sorry.
My gosh, it just got very erotic in here. We got
goodbye, werewolf. I'm howling over you.
Are we about to see an appearance of Black Mark?
No, you got Cosby Mark. That was enough for the night.
Jesus fucking.
I thought we already got that with the Puddin' Pop reference.
I like this. He was in the Absolute Beginners, and he was in Solar Babies.
I thought Bruce Payne did a particularly good job in this film. I thought the Boom Mike as the supporting actor did a really good job. It made many appearances and was always spot on. One of my favorite scenes in the film was where the werewolf guy takes a nap on the one day of the year that he turns into or one day of the month he turns into a werewolf and oversleeps and then wakes up and goes, "Oh crap!" and then turns into a werewolf.
I love that.
I laughed so hard the first time because this is the first time I've ever seen any of these three. I was watching them for this show, and when he was like, "Oh shit," I died. I was like, "No, you did. You had a calendar you were writing on 5 minutes ago. What is wrong?"
And he turns around and takes a nap.
Well, never mind the fact that it appears that the moonlight triggers it. So what does he do? He goes to the window to look at the full moon that he knows is on the calendar.
Well, I mean, I thought maybe if it's diffused through the glass, maybe it won't have an effect. But no, I was giving him way too much credit.
I'm like,
way too
dude,
much.
just hide under the covers. You're fine. You were fine until you went out to the window and went, oh, crap, look, it's the full moon. Oh, wait, I'm a werewolf. I shouldn't be doing – fuck it.
I'm going to turn now.
So he turns into a werewolf and breaks out of his room, and then 5 minutes later he's walking down the city street, not a werewolf with just tattered clothes.
Well, and then you get the vampire who can apparently just magically – not just a vampire, we find out later, alligator boy too. Anyone who has the magic crystal can just manifest this werewolf at any time, apparently. I'm like, what? And then he alludes to him killing the preacher girl, and I'm like, dude, you are so gullible. You've got the villain telling you that you killed someone.
Well, they ditched that plot, that plot through line within 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, because then
I was gullible. I'll admit it. I was like, did he really kill her? Because, I mean, she was all like, hey, I'm about to take my robe off. And he's like, no, be innocent and blah. But,
This werewolf guy, he was something else. I mean, he's the only werewolf in recorded history that is kind to kitties.
Yeah,
which was the best part of the freaking movie.
That was the best part
I was
of
like,
the movie?
don't you? Yeah, well, no, one of. Okay, I'm sorry, but innocent animals, I have a thing. I'm like, you can kill children all day long, but don't you dare kill that kitty.
Yep, I'm right there with you. If anybody hurts a dog in a movie, I'm like, whoa!
Like, you son of a bitch! Like American Psycho. I turned the movie off when he stomped that dog, but this one I was like, oh, it's a werewolf with a heart.
The emo wolf. Seth, what did you think of emo wolf?
Emo Wolf was all right. He was just hanging out in this Lifetime movie production about a deeply troubled drifter trying to find another troubled guy, hanging out with a eggplant vampire.
Eggplant Dracula. Get it right.
Dracula holding on to Alligator Boy, and they just wanted to ride off into the sunset together. So Howling 6 isn't that bad, I guess, in comparison to 4 and 5.
Just so we get maximum yucks, I just wanted to say one more scene that I really, really liked in this movie. It was right before Bruce Payne decides to turn into Eggplant Dracula, and he's talking to the city cop. This cop who, right off the bat, is a total fucking dick knob to the British guy who walks in for no apparent reason.
This town don't need no long-term visitors. Do I make myself clear?
Yeah, but anyways, the cop is starting to figure out that Eggplant Dracula isn't what he appears to be, and he goes,
Don't move, or I'll shoot your dick in the next county.
Then I certainly won't move.
Yes. Best line ever.
I laughed at that.
Yeah.
He's gonna keep that dick.
I remember that line. That was a great line. I love that cop, actually. I mean, he was a dick to the British guy in the beginning, but later on he warmed up after he saw how quickly they could restore this very super huge church with just 2 people, some nails, and a board. It was better than any montage in Karate Kid. They just whipped this church right up.
Mark, remember, it was by the power of shitty country music.
That's true, by the power of shitty country music. Yeah, I liked them later on. Again, this goes back to Angelique saying, these are Scooby-Doo. This is another murder mystery. This is another, because you got people starting to go missing in the town. And you've got the sheriff, actually doing some cop work, though he decides, oh, nope, I suspect this guy, so what do? I'm going to go out without my cop shirt buttoned or anything. I'm just going to go out like I woke up and dive into a dumpster and, oh, look, a dead body. I mean, at least, even though he was a prick at the beginning, I liked the cop guy. I actually did, because he was sitting there and he was the only one thinking something was kind of fishy with the freak show, with the circus. He was noticing people actually disappearing in that, I mean, he was putting some stuff together, which in a film like this would be easy just to keep him the dumb cop, and that part was being played by the mayor, who was the dumb mayor. But I kind of dug the sheriff, the sheriff in this.
He was a decent character, even though his motivations were all over the place throughout the movie. But on a whole, I got to say, the last 15 minutes of this movie is the highlight. If you were to take all 3 of these movies in this episode that we watched, 4, 5, and 6, and you were to make a supercut, you just make the supercut of the last 15 minutes of each of these motherfuckers, and those are the best parts of any of the movies. And the final battle, very anticlimactic, but I didn't care because it was 2 rubber-suited dudes just flailing about, and he grabs some railroad tie and shoves it in his throat. Little did you know, eggplant Draculas, their heart are in their throat. So you just take a railroad
his
spike.
aim was off, but it was still iron, and traditionally that is a weapon against Draculas.
Scott, you haven't really had your piece on this one yet. Go for it.
A lot of people have said it already. I liked this movie. I really did. I thought, this is, of the 6 we've seen so far, this is the best one since the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's really going out of much of a limb to say that. Is it a classic? No, but I liked, some of the elements of the film. I was calling cliches early on in the film, and then I actually had those cliches come back on me and say, no, they're not going in that direction. Which is kind of rare for me, because when you see as many horror films as we do, you can kind of call them like a baseball game, there's goofy bits, like the guy doesn't quite recall this person, and I think you'd kind of recall if you met a werewolf, and there's the bit where Bruce Payne's he gets found out by the father finally, and he's approaching him, and you think, oh man, he's gearing up, he's gonna have the greatest line, and his line was, so fucking what? And he threw him that's it? That's your line? but
got a lot of things to think about when you're Dracula.
But look at this. I liked the setting of it. I liked that they didn't just make the character, that they started out making the characters as caricatures, and then some of these people were actually able to grow throughout the film. I liked, supporting cast, including Deep Roy and everything like that, Antonio Fargas. I really liked the vampire design. And I loved those bits. There's this great bit, where there's the scene where the mayor, the mayor's going to get it because he's the most dickish character in the whole movie. He can find him out. No, it's not that. No, the vampire doesn't just raise from his coffin. The vampire doesn't just come from behind him. He bursts through the ground with all the lumber and split wood coming up for it, throws him up on the roof of the RV, through the roof, and drags him down. Holy crap! That was great. There was a lot in this movie that I really enjoyed. I think that with more time and money, and maybe if they were allowed to take a little more care with the movie, because I'm sure these things are polished off and turned around pretty quickly, as are a lot of exploitation films. I think that if they were able to take a little more time with it, they could have really come up with something really special. As it is, I think it's still a good movie.
Yeah, compared to the last 2, it really is, and I think it would have been a great thing for the series going forward to have used this as a starting point. But instead, which you'll find out next episode, Clive Turner comes back in a big way in Howling 7. So we'll leave that to the next episode. But here, let's go ahead, folks, and let's wrap up Howling 6 and give our final thoughts. Andrew, I'll start with you. Final thoughts on Howling 6.
It's the best of the 4, 5, and 6, but it's not. I don't like it. It's thumbs down. But I should mention, though, that it is possibly the only Howling movie directed by a female, Hope Perello.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she is now, I guess she's involved with the Space Arts Center in Pasadena, California. It's like a nonprofit arts education thing, and the website does not list that she's the director of Howling 6.
Yeah.
Shocker.
She started out with Charles Band, working for Empire Pictures back in the day on a lot of their productions.
So, Angelique, would you give this a thumbs up?
I have to. Taking this face value of the 3, this was entertaining. It had a little tone of Blood Freak, and it had the Dracula versus the Woof-men. So, I mean, you have to. I had to give this a thumbs up because there was a lot of heart in this, and you can tell that despite Clive Turner's involvement, they tried.
He had no involvement in this one. This is the only one.
I thought he had a writing credit.
Nope, not on this one. I believe this is the only one of these three that he did not. He had everything to do with the next one.
Well, that makes all the difference.
Yep, it really does. Seth, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I thought the makings of a good movie were there, but I was pretty bored throughout most of it. So thumbs down, barely. Just didn't all click together as entertaining as the pieces. The sum of the parts was not greater than the parts.
There was large sections of this film that there was nothing really going on in it. I can totally understand that stance. Glenn?
A flaccid dwarf penis down. That's been the whole podcast, just a flaccid dwarf penis down.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and flaccid dwarf penis.
That's a good summary for the entire 3 movies.
Oh, boy. Oh, I love you guys. Scott Davis.
I like it. This is a solid thumbs up for me. I mean, I thought that you give the movies, they don't all work, which we've seen. I mean, I think I've disliked far more than I've liked of this series so far. But give them this thing that each time they do try to make a real movie. Sometimes it goes horribly off the rails, but they do try to make real movies here. And I liked the setting. I liked what they did with the characters. I thought it was not a classic by any means, but a perfectly good, enjoyable exploitation horror film. Nice little battle royale between budget werewolf and budget vampire.
Yep. Between Wolfman and Eggplant Dracula.
Yeah, Wolfman and Eggplant Dracula, which I'm now going to have to be probably be conditioning myself to say it like that from now on because of this.
That's my fault. I'm sorry.
I love it.
It's too bad. It's too bad you'll never get to say it again through the rest of the next episode.
I'll say Wolfman every time.
Oh, please. I want that to be the standard. But I don't want to ruin the next one, so I'm just going to keep it at that. Mark the Movie Man, thumbs up or thumbs down?
You ever had root canal, and then you had a tooth pulled, and then you had that cleaning from the dental hygienist who scrapes your gums until they bleed? Mm-hmm. This film, out of these 3 films, is the scrape your gums till you bleed. It's kind of uncomfortable, but at the end, you feel clean. It's enjoyable. And that's what this is. Granted, like I said, the other 2 were very painful. So after watching those 2, this is like a vacation because of a lot of positive things going on in it. I have to give it a thumbs up, not as a Howling film, but as a film, because this was the first one out of the last 3 that felt like a real film, had an A to a B, had some growth of characters, had something happen. So it's a film. I give it a thumbs up. I did enjoy it. But again, it's after getting sandpapered, for the last 2. This one was like the soft, Charmin.
Yeah.
I love your description of it's a film.
It is. Well, the other 2, they were.
That describes it to a T right there. It's a film.
It's a film.
This is good. This is good because we can use this. Plus, we can take Mark's quote, for Howling 4, "Things happen," and just put that above the title on the box. Yeah.
That would be the greatest thing if the poll quote from now on for Howling 4. Wait, no, that wasn't Dorito parts. That was part 5. Part 5
was Dorito farts.
Things happen.
If that's not your opener for the compilation episodes of all of the Howling movies, nothing else will be. Things happen, and it's a film.
So yeah, I gave it thumbs up. if only compared to the other two that we had to suffer through, it's one that I would, if I had to watch again, I would watch this one and not the other two.
I will agree across the board with you guys. I think this one of the three obviously is the most enjoyable of these three. Is it the most enjoyable of the series? I think each of these three films are far below the first three films. Even as good as 6 was, as Seth had said, there's a lot of stretches of nothing that happen interspersed with either hilarity or some kitschy fun. So I can't really say any of these were recommendable. I think 6 was okay. It was fun in a B movie kind of way. But I still 1 through 3 are just so damn fun and so good. I mean, good is a relative term, I suppose. But I can't really say 6 is great. But of these three, yeah, I'll give it a thumbs up. It was some B movie fun. So let's go ahead and take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll set ourselves up for the last episode and talk about our experience with the Howling so far, and then shamelessly shill the fuck out of you. We'll be right back.
Do you like horror movies? So do we.
Plucks his little eyeballs out. Cuts his tongue out. She was great.
Do you like American Horror Story? So do we.
There were some butts. Yep. Killins. Yep. Butt. Yep. Killins. Butt. Yep. Killin. If it's over 90% cheek, that's your butt. You see the essence of the butt.
Are you into vampires dancing in mesh tank tops? Us too.
I was mesmerized by the mesh tank top and leather pants.
Are you into high-minded film critique and discussion? Because we've got that.
And it is beautifully filmed. Like, it really... Just the stark contrast of colors, like you said.
Not your thing? How about a dick joke?
His dick, dude. He put his dick in a fucking pig. Come on.
We've also got one dude to give dude perspective.
Zombie apocalypse is no time to have your head in the pussy clouds, Mickey. This is survival.
Thank you.
So head over to iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you listen, and subscribe to The Bloodlust, your go-to podcast for classy broads and a token dude talking horror.
One dark and stormy night in the mid-'80s, Joe Bob Briggs, Harlan Ellison, and the ghost of El Santo pulled a train on Elvira while Siskel and Ebert sobbingly masturbated in the corner. From that union arose the greatest movie critic and luchador that ever lived. But we're not going to talk about him. He's kind of a dick. Instead, we're going to talk about me, El Goro, the stuttering movie fan and host of the Talk Without Rhythm podcast. Every week on Talk Without Rhythm, I discuss 2 to 3 movies tangentially tied together by a theme. I cover action.
I'm the most complete fighter in the world.
Sci-fi.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Horror.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
And the continuing adventures of James Spader, sexual deviant.
You're not worried that I'm going to fuck you, are you? I'm not interested in that, not in the least. Now pull up your skirt.
So check me out at tworpodcast.blogspot.com, drunkenzombie.com, or subscribe on iTunes. Talk Without Rhythm, the only podcast that will not attract the world. Adios.
Welcome back, listeners of Astro Radio Z, and so this one was a rough one for the Astro Radio Zombies tonight. Let's give general thoughts. How's your experience been with the Howling? Are we hating our lives? Are we anxious for the next one? Andrew?
I'm not looking forward to it, honestly, man. I mean, I think it was a big letdown from the first 3, watching the next 3, because as anyone that listened to that episode will know, I enjoyed those, man. I really did. In particular, 3. It ended that first trilogy on a high note. 3 to me is the best. So for me so far, it goes 3, 2, 1, 6, 4, 5.
Yeah. My list is pretty close there, except I would say 1, 3, 2, 6, 4, 5. Glenn, are you excited? Did you actually marathon these all in one sitting?
Not this time, but I've watched all 7 in one day once.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
You are a fucking Klingon warrior.
He's amazing, isn't he?
I'm a disappointment to my family.
But you are an honor to your ancestors. Today is a good day to die. Jesus Christ.
I am Man, I remember the first time I watched Howling 7, and just, wow. So am I looking forward to it? No. And I mean, I love the first Howling movie. I like the second one. I enjoy the heck out of the third one. And I think I'm just going to watch videos of cats now because that's more enjoyable.
That'll cleanse your soul sufficiently.
Let's see. Yeah, there we go.
Now we know why Glenn has a broken toe, because he watched all 6 of these in a row and then at the end said, fuck! He hit something. So, oh boy. Scott, I know we've had a role reversal this year where now you have been hating life, as I was last year with the Vice Academy episodes. Are you anxious for this to be done?
No, I wouldn't say I'm hating life. I'm entering. Here's the thing: is that am I looking forward to, from all like the little hints you're dropping, and even from like actual things I've heard from various people who have been on like the productions in like other videos and stuff. The 7 and 8 don't sound that pleasant. I've never seen them. I will say that I think I'm entering what I'd call like the witchcraft portion of this franchise thing, which is that we started the witchcraft movies. I'm like, oh, this is shit. Oh, this is shit. And then as it kind of went on, I'm like, it's shit, but I'm kind of feeling kind of pleasant and nice towards it, And then I think by the end of it, I'll wonder wait, please don't take my shit away. So, so I'm like at that kind of like little malaise. It's kind of like it's kind of like the feeling after you get, I imagine after you get like a lobotomy, where the deep thoughts don't hurt anymore, and you can just sit there and drool, and that's kind of where I'm at right about now.
Oh, wow. Seth, I know you have a deep knowledge of exploitation film. Have you seen Howling New Moon Rising?
No, I've never seen 7 or 8.
Oh, man, am I so excited for all you people. I am so excited for all you people. You don't realize what's about to happen to you. But
So all I'm hearing right now is Buffalo Bill screaming down into the pit going, "You don't know what pain is!"
Oh, my God. And you know what really excites me is that the fact that my brother Shane is finally going to come on the show, and it's because Howling New Moon Rising is on the plate that I finally got my brother to come on my show.
Wow.
So you better prepare yourself, because let me tell you, my history of trolling goes back really far. When Howling New Moon Rising came out on VHS, I was so fucking blown away by it that I dubbed it to a VHS tape, unlabeled it. I didn't label it. Handed it to my brother and said, "Dude, you gotta see this movie." Handed it to him, and then he got back to me like, "What the fuck?"
I think I found that tape in the Goodwill in Bristol, Tennessee.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, you're in for a special treat, folks. Mark, have you seen either of these 2 last ones?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, I'm so happy.
Because
I'm so happy I get to give you guys this treat next episode.
I'm so excited because you're so excited.
You don't even know how many. I've already watched it 3 times in anticipation. I've already watched it. Like literally when I knew Howling, the Howling series was on for this year, I watched it once. And then as I was editing the first episode, I had it on another monitor again.
Oh man! So how much are my neighbors going to hate me?
I think that from the sounds of things, I think that he's taking such delight in this. I think that just to get revenge after these movies are done, I'm going to start a Kickstarter for Vice Academy 7.
I will donate to that faster than a Dorito fart.
On that note, folks, this is going to be an epic fucking episode.
I'm so excited.
Rising. I was so tempted to have it be its own episode, but nope, we're going to have it be 2, because remember the last Witchcraft episode only had 2.
That's true.
So,
which was amazing, by the way, gentlemen. Aw. Where I've got such a horrible commute because I'm having to deal with Atlanta traffic, and even turning out of the parking lot of my hotel onto the street in the morning when I have to go to work is so torturous. I've been listening to back episodes of Astro Radio Z, and y'all are hilarious, A, and B, give me a whole new perspective on all these movies, and especially the Vice Academy series. Yes.
And that was kind of cool that they got Dwayne, though. That was kind of a coup, right?
Oh my God!
You don't even want to know how hard I had to work to get him on this episode.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know because it's all fabulous.
Good.
And I love every minute of my commute because I download these podcasts and get to listen to them on my commute in. And I scare my poor subordinates when I walk into the building, unlocking the door, and the podcast is screaming from my purse. And they're like, what is that? And I'm like, you don't even need to know. Just get on the phone. Leave me alone.
You should see if Dwayne wants to talk about the last 2 Howling movies.
That was so great. That would be so amazing.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get Clive Turner to come on, so maybe we can talk.
Oh my God, I would love to pick his brain, because one thing we didn't bring up as far as the Howlings go is the death scene of Eggplant Dracula. I'm sorry, the Sandblaster is amazing. That's some really cool effects.
Oh, that was a great effect. I agree. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm really, anytime a vampire movie comes up, you will really get me going, because I'm very traditional about my vampires, hence me calling them Draculas, because there's one, he's the father, and everybody else is a relative of Dracula. And I'm from the South, and we have a particular patois to our speech. Is a Dracula.
Snap Dracula pop.
And those of you who follow me on Facebook know my Dracula rules, and you know how Dracula is spelled. And you know, it's a whole thing about me and Dracula.
Do you do French fried Dracula? Put them under your lip?
French fried Dracula is a Dracula that has been doused in garlic oil and strapped to the cross of the nearest Free Will Baptist church.
Oh man, I now want to see a movie made where it takes place like in Raccoon Falls, Tennessee. And
let me finish my novel, baby, and there will be movies all over.
And like, you know, like the people like that are just getting out of the Waffle House, where you almost fall off a cliff because everything's all mountainous. They're like, oh my God, the Waffle House is overrun with Draculas.
Because Waffle Houses throughout the South, Georgia and South Carolina and Tennessee, Piedmont region are all Dracula-proof.
Oh,
Dracula-proof.
There is one right next to a very steep cliff, though, on Claremont.
There is. Yes, and that's where they just, sweep the ashes off the edge.
So anyways, thank you for listening to the second of 3 Howling episodes, folks. We're going to come back with a vengeance in a month. You'll get to hear this thing. I've been dropping the hints left and right. Howling New Moon Rising, fucking epic shit. I cannot wait. This is, no, I got to shut up. I got to keep it in. I can't, no more hints, no more drops.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
I'm not going to give it away. So come on back. You'll hear some more. Until then, next week, I'm not too sure exactly what episode I'm going to have. There's a couple on the burner, so just go ahead, stay tuned on the Twitter page at Astro Radio Z. Get a hold of me there, and I'll let you know. It's been very active. I want to thank all the new followers that have come on, and that constantly every single day let me know about the show, talk about hijinks. It's been really fun. Thank you to everybody that's been actually getting back to me and listening to the show. So if you're interested in Astro Radio Z, you can contact me at astroradiozpodcast@gmail.com. You can find all the back episodes at astroradiozpodcast.com. As I just said, you can get a hold of me on Twitter, on the Facebook, and give a subscribe. We're on YouTube. We're on iTunes. We're anywhere you can find podcasts. You can find this, and you can also listen to our brand new show that me and Corey J. Hudler did, the Stillborn Goat 666 Heavy Metal Podcast, where we
What's
talk.
that about?
Isn't that the greatest fucking title of a podcast you ever heard? in your whole fucking life?
Sorry, you and Corey J together are just solid gold regardless.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's pure hijinks. We've been talking about bringing a KISS podcast on the network forever, but we couldn't do it. And all we do is talk about heavy metal. When you guys don't hear me, I'm on fucking the chats or on text talking about shitty metal bands with fucking Corey J. Eller all day, all night. So we decided, let's do a podcast, and here we go. Rock and roll. So we're doing Stillborn Goat 666 Heavy Metal Podcast. Tune in on the Astro Radio Z Network. And there are talks about Film Jerks coming back. So, hey, there's some good things happening here. Stay tuned. Subscribe. Give us a review on iTunes. Blah, blah, blah. I've gone on far too much. Glenn Buettner, tell the fine listeners where they can find you.
On the internet, bitch.
All right, Andrew Shearer, where can the fine folks find your wares?
At your mom's house, bitch.
Seth Powlin, where can the fine people that listen to my show find you?
At Andrew's mom's house, bitch.
Scott Davis, where can they find you?
At your grandmama's house, bitch.
Mark the Movie Man, what about you, Bat Mark?
You can find me at the Puddin' Shack.
You can find Mark the Movie Man at DoritoFart.com. Angelique, last but not least, where can the fine listeners find you?
At my mama's house.
Boy, that just got weird.
Big Mama's
It did.
Big Mama's
Mama
Dracula.
said on
Big
multiple
Dracula's
occasions,
house.
y'all are all welcome.
Oh. So, from all of us Woof-men, to all of you eggplant Draculas, say goodbye, people.
Goodbye, people.
Goodbye, people.
Why are we howling? There's no wolves.
Oh,
We wanted to put some wolves in it, okay?
that's right. Good night, folks.
Give me some Jello pudding.
Jesus. How many more is there? Just one movie?
2.
There's 2?
There's 2 more.
All right, so what's 8 called?
Reborn. It was the Twilight remake.
Yeah, I've watched these like 4 times each.
What?
Yeah. Well, it's like because 4 and 5 were so boring and awful, I kept falling asleep. And where I'm here in this hotel, I've got them on my external drive, so I'll just put them on my Blu-ray player and let them play on repeat and torture my neighbors.
Oh my gosh!
How do you remember which movie?
They saw as much as the movie as you did.
Oh, dude, when we went to the Witch last night. Amanda decided to get some nachos with jalapenos on them.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, too bad I was shitting my brains out half the day today.
Yeah.
Well, but it was worth it, though, because those nachos are tasty.
No, they're tasty, but once I hit 35, my stomach just turned into a complete wuss.
I mean, I have my gallbladder removed, and spicy food is really a no-no, but Popeye's chicken and some hot sauce is going to happen, regardless of the outcome.
Hell
so
yeah.
You pay all that money for the for the nachos, the movie theater nachos. What a kick in the ass.
Well, this movie theater actually has the nachos were actually decent. They weren't the cheapo ones because they actually have
cheese.
Yeah, it wasn't the bad stuff, but it's still like today. It's like, oh man, I shouldn't have had them jalapenos.
Lucky you, Astro Radio Z listener. You get to
all about
you get to hear about
middle-aged gastric issues.
Our wonderful host shitbits.
My bowel movements.
Entertainment, man.
There are 3 rules to spicy food. The first rule is it must taste good.
Yes.
And it cannot fail that rule.
Absolutely not.
Of the other 2, it must pass at least one of them. It must feel okay inside you, and it must feel okay leaving you. If it fails one of those 2, that's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. If it fails both, doesn't matter how good it is, it's not worth it.
Oh, see,
It feels a little, feel the burn coming out.
The guy that does quality control brought some homemade hot sauce today. And I made some peanut satay on my lunch break with his hot sauce, and it was amazing. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow morning, but it's passed 2 of the rules so far.
But remember, whoever's watching us tonight, no matter how bad your colon sets fire due to that extra spicy hot food, that's still more enjoyable than the Howling 4, 5.
Oh, God.
That's right.
Cheers to that.
I had some Thai food in New York like 3 years ago. And man, it tasted great going in, but in my stomach, it was like George Animal Steel tearing apart a turnbuckle for about 7 hours. And it felt like, my ass was the Bikini Atoll. Man, afterwards. I'm like, I can never eat that again, ever. It tasted great, but holy crap. I was miserable for like 17 hours. My ass was so fucking puckered and sore.
Let me tell you, you guys have just guaranteed that this is going to make the episode. I will
I
put
don't
this
give
in.
a fuck. This is awesome.
I always like the outtakes at the end.